Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the conversation today. We'll be discussing the biggest mistakes employers make with PTO. I'm Caitlyn. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Timeero, and today we have Pennie, an HR professional with over 15 years of experience. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about, or tell them a little bit about your experience and what you specialize in?
Yeah, I've been in HR for a very long time. I specialize in everything people. So everything from recruiting to onboarding to compliance to everything HR. And startups are my favorite, and then small to mid-market.
Perfect. Well, and with your expertise, we'll be providing practical insights for HR managers, payroll admins, and business owners. Our conversation will include PTO policies, challenges with time off tracking, how to communicate expectations to and with the employees, and then what benefits come from automating those processes. Stay tuned after the conversation for a live demo of Timeero's time off tracking system. All right, Pennie, one thing we hear a lot is that companies don't have a written PTO policy, or they only have something vague. From your perspective, why does that create confusion and miscommunication?
I think a lot of times when there is no policy, people are going to interpret their own policy. So without a guideline, people will talk to each other and they'll create something in their head, and it generates their own entitlement. It can cause confusion, and when it comes time for the compliance piece, that's when the problems start.
Yeah, definitely. And have you seen that happen where it was unclear and it caused some frustration?
Absolutely. I think when at one of the companies I worked at, we had an employee depart, and it was a state that required PTO payout. So there was no proof, there was no, amount of hours that the person used. So we had to pay the full amount out.
Yeah, that is tricky. If you were advising a small business today, what's the first thing you'd have them include in their policy?
I would have them look at the law, what's required for a paid time away policy, and get it in writing. I think that it should have what the requirements are. It should perhaps even state what the legal requirement is, and then train all of the managers to make sure that they understand what those requirements are as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so crucial that everybody's on the same page. If there's any miscommunication and misdocumentation, I can't imagine. A lot of businesses still try to track PTO manually, or like in spreadsheets or on paper. And so what kind of mistakes do you see those companies making?
I think a lot of employees trust their managers to write that down, or, hey, can you log those hours for me? And oftentimes managers will forget. And so when it comes time to look at the time away, it's human error. There's miscalculations, or there's the wrong amounts that are entered, and it causes disputes with employees, disputes with payroll, and it's not a good situation.
Definitely. I could see that happening. I am so forgetful. I got to have it written down and got to have that set. How do those errors usually show up? Is it in payroll, employee disputes, or both? You kind of mentioned that.
Both times, yeah, definitely. Yeah. When it comes time to approve time cards for payroll, or if it's an automatic process when they get their paycheck.
Yeah.
And then that causes a problem, and then it won't get resolved until the next payroll. So I've seen both instances.
Yeah. And if it wasn't logged right then this is now 3 weeks ago we're talking about, on a day that they may not remember at this point. So
exactly.
Yeah. In your experience, when does manual tracking just stop working for a company?
It depends on the management team, honestly.
Sure.
If there is a budget allowance, if there is someone who is affected that it causes a great mistake, honestly, It's okay, enough. We now have to put something into place. And I think that is, if it's a priority and it gets caught, then it's time to make a change.
Yeah. Definitely. They'll feel it. They'll know that
They
it's
absolutely
time.
will, because someone has an employee who could be a manager that is visible, and it's time for that change.
Yeah. So even when companies do have something in place, sometimes communication can be a big thing. We talked about human error, and that can be the weak spot. So how does poor communication affect that trust, loss of retention, and even burnout?
Communication's key. I think that it comes down from the top. So if you have an exec team that doesn't communicate, that cascades. And if managers don't communicate, the employees don't hear about it, it impacts everything. And like I said earlier, if you don't communicate, employees will create their own stories. So you can have the best policies, but if people don't know about them, it really won't matter to them.
Yeah, I definitely have felt that in different companies where what's established among the team is what's carried on, and as soon as the company grows, that's the norm.
Right.
So yeah, I could see that. What's a simple step HR can take to make PTO balances and rules more transparent?
From onboarding and from any kind of meeting that they have. If there's an all hands meeting, if there's a new policy that comes out into play, have a training session, show them the policy. If there's a new handbook that's coming out, have a clear, concise written policy. Encourage managers to share that information. And if there's an anniversary coming up and there's a new award with additional PTO, make sure that they understand it. Talk about it, track the hours. If someone's coming up to an accrual where there's going to be a cap put on it, talk about it. Tell their employees if they need to take time away, talk about it, be visible.
Yeah.
It's really important that information is shared.
Definitely. That brings to mind, like I would want a notification or something when somebody's approaching it, their weekly PTO, so that we just don't even have any of those problems, and
Right.
it's all very visible to everyone. That
Sure.
seems,
And some systems can automate where it's a message that gets sent saying, hey, you're about to cap out.
Yeah.
So that becomes an important tool.
Definitely. I can see that. Have you seen a case where improving communication made a significant difference?
100%. I mentioned earlier that communication starts at the C-level.
Mm-hmm.
If the CEO talks about communication and shares information, is visible, and talks with employees, talks about values, they empower everyone else to do the same. Yeah. It's really important. I know Timeero's CEO is very empowered that way. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that about him.
I feel that too. Yeah. I'm like, we always talk about what vacations we have coming up, what trips we have. If it's a long weekend, maybe encouraging someone to go take a trip, making sure they don't hit that burnout that they have and feel and use the time that they have. Yeah.
What's great is that the culture is centered around that.
Yeah.
I think that's what is special about Timeero, is everyone celebrates that with a picture, with, a run, with going to Utah and doing a marathon.
Yeah.
It's very special.
Yeah, it really is. So if you could give HR managers 1 or 2 practical tips for staying compliant and avoiding these disputes, what would you tell them?
Put their policies in writing. If there isn't one, create a policy for it, especially with paid time away. Anything that there's a law that's in place in their state, have a policy for it. There's the law. Yeah, you can look it up. But if employees don't see that it's in a handbook or a policy somewhere, it's not going to matter to them, because they want to see it where it's got the company name. They want to see it that it's enforced. I think it's very important. It's applicable. It means something. The managers also have to understand that they're also accountable and that they need to train their employees too. So put it in writing, make it visible, and train people.
Perfect. And if people haven't started, we do have a template available that they can, use or plug in, some key information into what they already have. You got to start from somewhere, right? Start with anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really important too.
Yeah.
And the more information that is available, the better people would want that.
Yeah. What can someone implement this week to have a quick win?
I think look at their PTO policy. Make sure that people are aware of their balances. Make sure that if they're getting close to their cap, to get time on the calendar to take time away. Get something in writing. Make sure that their employees know that here's the policy. Here's what you're going to be doing to take time off.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, start anywhere. Start there.
Right.
For a company that's scaling quickly, where should PTO management fall on their priority list?
High.
Yeah.
Because if it's an accrual, that means that the company has to account for those dollars. So if accruals are high, that means there's a high dollar amount sitting someplace. So the more money that's in those accruals, the less employees are taking time away, which means that the work-life balance is off. So it's important that people encourage their employees to take that time away. Go and enjoy a day off. Go and use your vacation. Without happy employees, you're not going to have a happy workplace.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe focus on productivity or, how to get to the next goal, the next thing. But if like you said, you focus on humans. If the people doing the work they don't have the ability or, their productivity isn't high, they need to take a break.
Well, and honestly, if they can't take time away, you're going to possibly lose them.
Yeah.
Because unhappy employees, the first thing they're going to go do is look for a new job because they'll think maybe I can be happier someplace else.
Yeah. And then you have to onboard somebody else. There's time put into training. You just lose out on all of that.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah. We've hinted a bit at how a lot of the manual process is really clunky and there's a lot of errors. So from your HR perspective, what are the biggest advantages of automating PTO and time off tracking?
I think accuracy and reporting. With automation, there's no error.
Yeah.
I think that's important. You're preventing time theft. The clocking in and out for someone else is nearly impossible. There's also rules against that in some states. I think that's really important to know. There's compliance. There is the number of employees you have. There's different compliance pieces that are in play. You have real-time data that is really important, especially when you're looking at workforce planning. And then there's cost. I think when you're looking at budget, where all that comes into play.
Yeah, that's a lot. Maybe I should have asked you what aren't the benefits of automating some of that. For companies that are hesitant to invest in a system for automating, what is the risk of hesitating and waiting for too long?
I think the longer you wait, you could have compliance issues. I mentioned to my manager that he would clock those hours for me. Sometimes it's a morale issue because a manager could be clocking hours for someone and not for another. So that's that equality piece. It just seems like a waste of time and money to not automate.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Every day can provide an opportunity for some kind of human error. So that makes sense. If you had to give one final piece of advice about managing PTO and compliance, what would it be?
The longer you wait, the more challenges you're going to have. As we are integrating with AI and new technologies, that bus isn't going to be waiting for you. So it's so much easier to use automation and use the technologies that are available. They integrate with so many different things. If you're using Slack, if you're using Google Workplace, it would make sense to use a payroll system, a timekeeping system that is already automated for you. Why wouldn't you? That's really all I can say is why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It takes so much time to manually calculate hours. And even you could be wrong when you're doing payroll.
Yeah.
So I would rather have an automated system to do that.
Right. All right, now we want to jump into a demo of the Timeero time off management system and show you how you can accomplish some of the things we've talked about today, setting notifications, making sure that the policy is documented and that the users can request and communicate their time off to their managers, but also to the whole team. So we'll dive in and start showing you this tool. Timeero's new time off management system can help you track accruals and requests all easily in one place. To start, you'd come to your company settings and set and create your time off categories or rules. You can assign it a color, give it a name, a descriptive name for your team to select when they are choosing their time off. You can configure accrual settings to match your policy if they accrue a certain number of hours or days in a certain time period. You can get very customized here. You can give them an initial balance, and you can allow negative balances. And once you create that category, your users can go ahead and, one sec. Let me do. And once you create that category, your users will be able to select it in the time off section and submit requests. Here you can manage all of the requests that have been submitted, and then as well as viewing the approved and declined requests. You can also, for easier viewing, you can view it on a calendar setting. You can compare and see what days certain users will be out. And then in the accruals and balances section, you can see kind of a log of what hours people have used per user. So here I can see that D has used 8 hours of approved time, paid time off, and has 72 hours left. You can view the ledger of the history there, and it's all very visible so that managers and admins are all on the same page about what time is being taken and how much has been used so that moving forward, everything's accounted for. And lastly, you can set up advanced overtime alerts to be notified when a user has reached a certain time in comparison to their overtime. If you want to be notified an hour before they hit overtime or 5 hours after the weekly overtime, you can be notified here, and you can even set it up individually for different users. Pennie, thank you so much for your expertise and your guidance on this. I'm glad we were able to share the Timeero time off system, and I hope you find that's beneficial to you.
Thanks so much for showing the demo. There's a lot of great information. I think it's a really amazing idea, and I love that it's so easy to use. I really appreciate the link to the PTO policy. I think that's going to be great for HR people out there who have no idea where to start. So I know that value is really important to a lot of people, especially startup companies. Is it expensive? Like, can I do this for free? Like, what does that cost?
You can get started for free, no credit card required on our free trial, and make sure it's a good fit for you. And then once you're ready to sign up, we've got monthly and annual plans based on the features that your team needs.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
Very affordable.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So go ahead and get started now and get your tracking categories in there, your time off categories in your account, and start getting that visibility across your team to avoid any of this confusion and frustration.
Thank you. Compliance.
And compliance. Thank you, Pennie.
Thank you.